Heads up, I don't do a lot of editing of my videos. I'll make a thumbnail, but as far as like talking about stuff, I don't got time. I don't do this to make edits. I do this just to get things off my chest and just speak things out. And then whatever's on my mind, if you guys want to pick up on, great, and run with it, go for it, right? This is not financial advice. I am just a guy, an everyday working guy that is trying to find his way in this market, just like a lot of you. So I should be pretty relatable. I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not, and I'm not going to pretend to know something I don't. If you see any errors or any issues with anything that I say, I welcome the comments. I welcome any feedback, because only thing that does is make me better. And that just proves that, or means I have a lot more to learn. So yeah, go for it. If there's something I'm missing in any of my videos, please comment. Yeah, that's all I got. Please like, share, subscribe. It helps the channel. I wasn't doing this to build the channel, but now it seems like I'm getting a good following, so now I want to build the channel. So hey, that's appreciated. You guys like a lot of the videos, and I get a lot of viewers, but it's a lot of subscribers. So at 500, I really appreciate it. So shout out to y'all for rocking with me and supporting me. And here's the AMC post earnings video. All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? So we had the AMC earnings call, right? And of course, I've been talking about AMC for weeks now, leading up to this point, right? And I had specific criteria that need to be met in order for me to feel comfortable and like justify the leap options that I hopped into, right? So here's the deal, right? Of course, everybody that did your own research and you got into AMC or whatever, of course you see in the after hours that it went down, right? Well, if you paid attention to part 2 of the AMC video that I posted, I said that like historically, like even if revenue hit, the stock was likely to come down and then later come up. Right? So listen to this. Okay. Now, outside of that, pretty much if we can stay above 442, I think we're pretty solid. And that's where I actually think that we might pull back to, but time will tell. Okay. This golden line that I have right here of March 5th is where I think we see the next leg up for AMC. Now, that's a hypothesis based on movement over time for AMC after it's gone through a consolidation period. It may or may not happen, and of course, that's well after the earnings on February 28th. So, mark your calendars, I suppose, for that, and do your own due diligence, and we'll see what happens. But I'm probably only going to I'm not telling you what I'm going to put in there. I'm only going to tell you that I'm not going to put in more than I'm willing to lose. And if I have shares of AMC, I'm holding it for the long term. If it falls below the $3.56, I'm cutting my losses. I'm just going to take the L because I have no idea where it's going. Exactly what I said. I said earnings was going to come out no matter how it happened, no matter how well they did, or didn't do. It was a likely chance for AMC to pull back to the 442 area. Well, where is it right now? Where did it close in the after hours? 440. So we're right in line with what I was saying. I was hoping that I wasn't going to be right. I was hoping that, we were going to get positive information, positive news from the earnings, which we did, and I'll cover that briefly. If you guys want like the nitty gritty about like what they talked about, listen to the earnings call yourself or do your own research, but I'm not that guy. I read it, I kind of digest it, and then I'll give you like the blanketed information on it, and I'll just leave it to you to do more digging as far as what that means for the company. I will give you my perspective, of course, right? So, where was I going with that? right? So we're down, right? That's why I didn't get into call options on the weeklies, right? If you got into call options on the weekly, especially if you're in Discord, but I think I posted on Instagram as well. I warned you guys that the implied volatility was well over 300%. That is a recipe for disaster. Not financial advice, but I would never buy an option contract that's over that's much over 100%, right? I mean, there's just too much room for that to move. And if you don't know what implied volatility is, essentially, only thing you need to know, well, if you don't want to dive too deep, if you do your own research, right? But the higher the volatility, the IV number, pretty much the higher, the more interest in that contract, which means like essentially the more expensive or the increased value of that contract is more likely, right? So if IV is at 300%, and then what happens is after earnings they typically drop that, cut it in half, or 3/4 of the way down. Like, so that thing can go from 300 to 100% or 300 to 90% or whatever, right? The contract that I'm in June is, I think there's a 16% or 60% IV. I don't remember, but it's low. But anyway, if it dropped from 300 or 330% to like 90%, that's cutting all of your gains essentially out of that play, a lot of it, right? So if it did go up, and let's say it was at $6 and that IV came in, like, so people were less interested in like the play, then you would have been down anyway, likely. All right, so you don't play weeklies on earnings. Typically, you want to go a month, a couple weeks or a month out, a couple months out, maybe a year, whatever. That way, you're protected from that, and you're not risking your gains. But anyway, right. So what happened with AMC? I listened to that boring call. So I guess you didn't have to. So essentially, we beat revenue. We beat earnings like across the board. Actually, it exceeded my expectations, right? So analysts expected for AMC to hit negative 69 cents, right? Well, they beat that, and it was negative 0.54, okay, 0.54. That's huge, right? Especially coming out of a 2023 year where there was a Hollywood strike, there was limited content. I mean, the cards weren't really built in their favor, right? AMC somehow still found a way. Year over year, they're 76% better than where they were last year. This time that they were losing negative $2.60 or something like that. It was bad, right? Like they were really struggling, right? So, but despite that and the lack of content, what did they do? Like they became the distributors for two major specials. One being the Taylor Swift Eras Tour, and the other one being the Beyonce's concert. Okay, and those apparently did phenomenal based on the numbers that they provided. So that kind of saved them a little bit for this last quarter. So I mean, shout out to AMC for thinking outside the box and not necessarily relying on Hollywood to give them content, because that's a big question mark for a lot of analysts or investors. Is, well, what happens to the theaters if Hollywood isn't giving you good content? Well, who's coming to a theater if you don't have great movies to watch? So your business, from an analyst perspective, your business is solely reliant on somebody else, on Hollywood giving you content. If Hollywood doesn't do anything, your business goes in the toilet. So, as I said, AMC was doing a lot of things to be creative. They were opening their theaters to and doing things like UFC fights and esports and things of that nature. Now they got into it with Taylor Swift and Beyonce doing this concert, which is awesome. And according to the earnings call, I mean, maybe he's blowing smoke, but he's saying that their phones not stop ringing. I find that, like, kind of a, him trying to just boost it a little bit. He was sounding very overconfident, which is fine, right? But he was pretty much saying that they have a fair amount of artists, famous artists that are out there that are looking to have the same experience and setup of their their concerts and their documentaries or whatever. So AMC said that they're not going to be like the Netflixes of the world where they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a movie, but they do see themselves um, being a provider for maybe low budget movies, like movies that can't get the funding that they need in Hollywood. So they can take those on, and then it wouldn't really break the bank for AMC. And then it gives them the ability to present content or have content outside of Hollywood. Now, I think that there's a lot of indie and a lot of like movie creators that don't have that Hollywood in, that have the ability to create unique, great movies instead of the cookie cutter stuff that we're used to, that aren't getting the time of day. And AMC might very well be going after those type of people, and that's awesome. So that's my 2 cents on that. So AMC is doing things and to set themselves up for sustained success, right? And trying to become less reliant. They're always going to be reliant on Hollywood, but they need to have some reliance on themselves in the case that something like a Hollywood strike happens again. So I think they're doing the right things. On top of that, not expected, Adam Aaron is taking a 25% cut in his compensation. That's dope, in my opinion. The guy was greedy. So, like, um, all the apes out there, you already know, like, you got a bad taste in your mouth with Adam Aaron. I totally get it. He took advantage of the retail investors. He diluted some shares. Hypothetically, you know, apparently, allegedly, you know, I'm not trying to get sued or anything like that, but it's just more of that. I mean, that it's out there. It's on Twitter, right? Like, he created these ape shares or whatever, and he diluted the stock, and then he bought them back up, and then, you know, a lot of retail investors were kind of left holding the bag, and they felt betrayed by him, you know. But at the end of the day, he made a great point, and it sucks that we had to fall on that sword, because there's no way AMC would have survived to this point, in my opinion, without the retail investors backing the company. Now, by doing that, like, before that period, AMC, they were sitting on, I think, on about $17 million, according to Adam, right? Which is insane. And of course, a multi-million, billion, I don't know what they're worth, I'm sorry. A company like AMC of that size, they can't survive on $17 million, right, in the bank. So they had to dilute those shares. They had to do the buybacks. They had to invest into things like gold and whatever, right? And then do retail with their concessions or their popcorns and all of these things that they had to do and get very creative in order just to stay afloat during that down time. Like, they got double punched, right? So everybody knows the story of AMC. I'm not going to bore you anymore with that information, okay? But that was a big deal, in my opinion, him taking a pay cut, or, you know, a comp cut. So the fact that, despite all that, all of 23, the limited content, all whatever, right? Like, they went into 2023 with their hands behind their back. You know, like, it was like no theater really was doing great numbers, but AMC, they did something unique, man. And then, in my opinion, from what it sounds like and everything I know right now, if it wasn't for the Hollywood strike and those delayed movies that were scheduled to come out in 2023 that are now coming out in late 2024, 2025, AMC probably would have been on par, if not in a better position than pre-pandemic levels, which is absolutely insane. All of the information that I gathered during that meeting was 100% bullish. You knew that from the moment he opened his mouth, and how confident he sounded, and how excited he was to have the phone conversation about where the history of AMC throughout this pandemic. I mean, he went on a soapbox, and it was boring. And it was, oh me, look at me, what we do, what we did, you know, what we had to go through. That took 60% of the Dean call and whatever. But anyway, nonetheless, they did it. And after hearing all that information, after knowing more of the fundamentals of the company, even though we're still not in a position of positive, we're still not profitable. There's been a significant gap between not being profitable and reaching profitability. Okay. And because of that, I went ahead and I purchased 100 shares of AMC during the after hours. Okay. That's just what I did. But anyway, that being said, I'm bullish on AMC for the long term. I still don't think that our leap options are out of play. Even if you bought some that are a couple weeks out, I still think they're in play. We fell down to that 440, 442 level, in which I'm going to go over in the technicals here shortly. But as long as we're floating right there, like I said, we might consolidate there, and then I gave us till March 5th, if I'm not mistaken, before we see a pop. As long as nothing changes drastically with economic data, I can see AMC going on a little bit of a rocket. Now there's some underlying stuff that's pretty sketch that's happening in the background, to which that AMC is getting more volume during off market hours. So there's a lot of behind the scenes trading of AMC, and the shorts are still there. So right now, if I'm not mistaken, the shorts have like a little over 1 day to cover for those shares. But again, what that means is that there should be a significant or a reduced amount of selling pressure coming from the company, all right? So, or coming from the shorts. So as long as we kind of float above $4, I'm hoping we don't fall any more than 440, but time will tell. We'll see. I think we're pretty safe, right? Just ride it. Okay. So anyway, I'm gonna get into the technicals as far as what I see. And it's a little reiteration, but also a little update. Okay. So here we go. Let's see. Let's go right here. All right. So the technicals with AMC. So as we know, we were here. We got all the way up to $5.15. And that was today, 5 o'clock. No, that was yesterday at 5 p.m. Nice spike up, and then it stayed kind of around between $4.80 and $5. That was a good indicator that that we're seeing some strength now. If you've been following me, right, I've been talking about AMC, and I also said that we are on like an upward trajectory. When I said we were seeing higher highs and higher lows, so we were in a bullish position. I made money on the move, and I know a lot of people that have been like rocking with me have made money on AMC since we've been talking about it. Just today, a guy in our Discord, shout out to Danny, he busted out 100% on a call option. So if you were in the money and you didn't take profits, then that's on you. All right. I did warn everybody, again, not financial advice, that we would likely see good earnings, which I was expecting. Again, exceeded my expectations, but I dropped. Look where we dropped to. Okay, so I called the pullback, and here we are now. Now we wait for opening. So I backed out and I looked at the chart, right? So what I see here is a megaphone pattern. Okay, we have several points. With the megaphone pattern, there's 4 points before you see a breakout. Okay, so we have this will be 1 because you're going into it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the 4th drop right here, and then so I suspect that to be the move. Now, when does that move happen? Well, because of where we are and what I had predicted, I'm thinking that we might do some consolidation. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that we PCI numbers, I think PCI, that comes out and we're positive.
it's positive for the market, and it doesn't affect AMC. It affects us positively, and then we just rock it from there. There's no restrictions. Everything in that earnings call was 100% bullish. I didn't really hear one thing except for how they got rid of or how they reduced their debt. I wasn't a big fan of how they went about reducing their debt, but nonetheless, they have less debt, so whatever. Okay, so anyway, so that's what I see, the megaphone pattern. Okay, now this is right here, this is that golden line, right, that I was telling everybody about, which is, well, I can't, it won't show here. Okay. Which is the March 5th point, to which I think is when we see more of a bullish move. So I guess how it would be drawn is that AMC will start seeing higher highs, higher lows, and then from here it might consolidate, right, around the $5 range again, and then shoot up. Okay, that's what I'm predicting. Now, we have these little barriers, like these small areas or levels of resistance in my, just based on my technicals, that we have to break through. I don't think that they're extraordinarily strong, but first would be 530. As you can see, we're pretty much there. That was the wall we hit around the 515. That was that wall. Okay, so reject it there, and then essentially what we need to do is break above it and find support. I think if we find support above 530, then the next level or target would be 704, and then 1059, and then 764. I think 1764. I think 1764 is where we see like a major a resistance period, and I know that that's far off, right? And one could hope and dream, but ultimately I do think we get there. This point right here might not happen till August or maybe early 2025, but I do think that we will be on a trajectory to this point. I doubt if we get there before March, so don't hang your hat on that or anything like that, but just giving you that little update. So let me zoom out just a little bit. I don't want this to get too long. It's probably already too long. I just want you to see the rest of my levels here. Okay. 1764, 2966, 3989, 4971. I feel like those are the key levels that we're going to start hitting, and we're going to need to find some strong support above in order to continue towards upside. AMC is doing great things. Fundamentally, it's still not where it needs to be. However, all the moves that they've made from 2019 or from the pandemic till now may have not been the best as far as how you feel as a retail investor, but as a company and as an investor now, I feel like those were the right and necessary moves for it to stay afloat so it can survive and then later thrive. I think AMC is going to come back bigger, better than ever than what it was pre-pandemic, because they've been forced to pivot and make creative moves in order to adapt with the times, right? They are in a position where they have less people show up but still make more money. They've done that. That's awesome. So AMC has hit rock bottom. I think it's only up from here, which is why I started my position of 100 shares. I think I'm closer to like 489 is what my average would be right now. I plan to purchase up to 600 shares of AMC, and I'm hoping to get all of those shares under $4 or under $5. Okay, this will be a 5-year hold for me, unless this thing absolutely goes to the rocket or to the moon, and then of course I would take out the profits of a little bit of profit, and then of course my initial investment, and then let the rest ride. That's just how I'm playing it. You guys do you. If you have any questions, let me know. Ultimately, the options that I'm in, they're still alive unless it breaks underneath 356. I don't want to hold it to that point, but I'll dollar cost average to that point. Maybe I might cut it if it drops below $4, to be honest. But nonetheless, that's where I'm at. My call options are still alive, and I'm holding for as long as it's above $4, and I have enough time for it to ride out, and hopefully that all happens by March 5th, Tuesday. Okay. Any questions? Leave it in the comments. If you don't follow me on Instagram, look me up over there. I do a lot more updates on that side. Also, if you are watching this video, please like and subscribe. I'm just a normal dude making YouTube videos, pretty much speaking to my journey in the stock market. I'm nobody special. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a profitable options trader. I'm going to just be flat out honest, because that's the whole purpose of this channel, to be honest. Like that's why I do this. It's not to give you guys great plays or anything like that. It's just for me to improve my abilities, and then also speak things out, because I keep so much stuff internal, where like I know what I'm talking about, but I feel like I need to get more versed in talking about it. So here I am. I appreciate you guys for rocking with me, supporting me on this journey, and yeah, hopefully we can keep it going. Share the video to any friends or whatever, and yeah, I appreciate you. Take care.